Welcome to When We Talk Podcast, a place where honest conversation happens. We talk about life, struggles in life, relationships, conflict in relationships. We even talk about faith. This episode is hosted by Kenneth Bonner, Reggie Smith, and Jacqueline Wells. Welcome again to the When We Talk Podcast. This is Kenneth Bonner,
Reggie Smith,
Jackie Wells. So today we are going to actually go into a topic that one of our listeners posed to us on Topic Tuesday. And basically the question was shifting from a pretty or a handsome face to what a person brings to the table. So let me just start off by saying that I think that as women, one of the things that we take care of course, is how we look. You know, they always say that women take longer than men to get ready when it's time to go out or when they're getting ready to go to work or whatever. But women actually, you know, takes pride in how we look when we step out of the house. That's just our instinct, basically. So the question I want to pose out today is, why as human beings are we so obsessed with outer beauty?
Well, my personal opinion, and this is just my opinion, is I'm always a person that looks at everything, and I feel like it's what society dictates to us now. When you look at a magazine, you see a woman with amazing shape and a beautiful face, or you see a man with biceps and triceps, you know, and a handsome face. And so when these things are projected, you see that magazine everywhere. You don't just see it there, but you see a Victoria's Secret commercial come across the TV, or you see all this fitness commercials come across the TV. So now to me, I feel like, or let's even take it further. You see it in movies. You see it in videos. You know, how often do you see movies where you have an actor that's not so handsome or not so pretty? You get what I'm saying? So when we see these things constantly, or you look at people, you're like some people's role models, from the basketball players to football players and all those sports figures that have model looking wives. You get what I'm saying? So now we see that it's like, okay, you know, what am I looking for? Am I looking for somebody that's fine, you know, that's amazing looking on the outside, or am I looking for something on the inside, some kind of inner quality? And I think that because we see it all around us, it feels like I have to have somebody that looked the part.
My thing is, I want to take it back to Genesis and the creation. The Bible says that after God created, he saw what it was and it was good. So it was visual. You know, so if we are created in his image, we have his qualities and his characteristics. So when he saw it, he said to himself, it is good. Mm-hmm. So, but I also think that men, and I speak for men, we are visual creatures by nature.
True.
We are driven off of what we see. And based off of that, a lot of us have gotten into a lot of trouble based off of what we see. And I think that has taken us down the wrong paths on a litany of different issues, because we are driven. That's what we talked about in our previous segments. It's the tangible. We're driven off the tangible, what we can see, feel, touch, and taste. So once we see it and we like it, a lot of us haven't understood and learned that aspect of restraining ourselves to go after what we see.
That's good. So, I mean, I guess that's, you know, to the second part of that is, what does a person actually bring to the table? Because we're so focused on what the person is on the outside that we lose sight of that they have inner qualities too. So if I'm a person that's solely attracted with a guy because he got triceps and biceps and he's, you know, Denzel looking or Idris Elba looking.
She had to throw a name out there.
I'm just saying. So if they have those, you know, those characteristics, but behind closed doors, he's slapping me in my face or knocking me upside my head or downing me as a woman, is that good for me? Am I just going to only be attracted to him because when we go out on a date, people are looking at who he is from the outside? But then again, like I said, when we get behind closed doors, he completely changed into something different. So I think that we're missing that piece. And what you guys have been talking about is we're so caught up with social media. We're in the social media era. So everything that we see, from the Real Housewives of Atlanta to New York and wherever other cities these housewives are, they have this it's they just have this thing now of where everybody is wanting to be like these housewives or have these appearances of what these housewives is doing. So it's clouding our thought process or clouding our judgment on what is important to us or what is important in a person.
We've been inundated with so much and downloaded with this thing as far as social media is concerned, as far as what we see, because not only have we gone after those things that we see that we pertain in our eyes to be good, but we've also passed up on things because of what we see. Yes. We could have passed up on a good thing because of what society has deemed necessary or what is good. For me, I could take it back to the movie Boomerang. You know, when Eddie Murphy passed on females' feet, passed on females because of what their feet look like. I adopted that whole thing. I could have passed up on some great things, but I looked at your feet. I went all the way up and I'm like, if your feet jacked up, we can't move forward. But I think that has made it such an issue. And what we can always go biblical. That's where Samuel almost made the mistake. Samuel went looking for a king, and out of all of David's brothers, he was looking at how handsome they look. He was looking at their stature. He was looking at all these different things, and almost missed the good thing for the nation of Israel. He wasn't looking for a ruddy, dirty king out in the wilderness dealing with sheep, and that's why the passage turns around and says that man looks on the outward side of it, but God judges the heart. And although we can't see the heart, we should always be looking for the good qualities in that person, but we miss it because we're so inundated with what everything should look like and how it pertains to us.
So from a scripture that I'm looking at right now, it's in the New Living Translations. And, you know, I like to look at different translations, even though they say the same thing. Sometimes you get a different perspective out of it. But when I take it back to 1 John 2:16, it says, For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. And these are not from the Father, but are from this world. So when I read that, I think about how, like the lust of the eyes, lust of the flesh, and pride of life, of what it talks about in another translation. I think about everything we see, we're moved by that, you know. And like you said earlier, that the Father created us to see everything he saw was good. But what I think that is, we get so caught up on the outward appearance of people that we don't take that time to really have a conversation and see what's beneath the surface. You get what I'm saying? Because the surface, what's on top of the surface always looks good. You know, I may look like I got my stuff together, but when you have a conversation with me, do I really have my stuff together? You know what I'm saying? Are you checking my nature? Are you checking my character? Are you looking at, like I talked about before, about how I make decisions? Are you looking at how I treat you? I can give you an example for right now. You know, when I got in a relationship with my wife, I was out of a previous relationship, and you know, for a while, and I was still working on the recovery from that relationship. And at the same time, you know, I started dating my wife, and she saw where I was. She obviously was attracted to me, or whatever the case, and we were attracted to each other. But when she knew the circumstances I was in, she looked at the qualities of me as a person to say, you know what, I went through a rough situation, but I didn't give up. I didn't quit. I didn't give myself away. I didn't lose myself. You know, like most people go through whatever they go through, and then they just forget about taking care of themselves. But I rebuilt everything. Well, not necessarily me, but God allowed me to regain who I was. You get what I'm saying? So I didn't just have a decent look on my face, a handsome guy. I wasn't just a handsome guy, but I also had qualities of taking care of my business. You get what I'm saying? When I dated her, I bought her flowers. For a while, she said she never got flowers. So I bought flowers for her every day for like 2 years. I mean, not necessarily every day, but every month. I would do it at least once a month for 2 years, because she never got flowers. When we go places, I open the door before she gets out of the car, and I open the door to let her back in the car. You know, it's just the small things like that. Those are qualities that people are looking for. I wouldn't let her pay for stuff. Sometimes she paid, you know, when she didn't want me to pay because, you know, for whatever reason. But, you know, that's the kind of qualities that she was looking for. I got a job. I've been on my same job before I met my wife. I'm still at the same job past 10 years. You get what I'm saying? So those types of things are, to me, qualities you need to look for. I had a plan. You know, I know what I wanted out of my life. I know what I wanted in my future. Those are qualities that I think that a lot of people don't care about. We're too busy living in the moment versus looking at the future. If that makes sense. I don't want to look for this little temporary solution. Oh, she fine. Let me go ahead and just date her. But then after I dated for a little while, I'm tired. Oh, that one fine. Now I'm going for this one. Oh, she fine too. So I'm moving all around because I'm so focused on what's on the outside and I'm not looking for that inner quality.
Yeah, I think that makes sense too. And I think it goes to who the person is and their confidence in themselves. Because if you don't believe that you're beautiful, first off, then the first sign that you get if someone say, oh, you're not that good looking, you're going to automatically think, oh, I'm not that good looking. So ultimately, I think that it starts with us and who we are as a person and know who we are as a person, because you shouldn't care what anybody else have to say about you anyway.
Absolutely.
That's first off. And the word of God says that we were fearfully and wonderfully made by God. And the last time I checked, he don't make any mistakes. You know what I'm saying? And so we shouldn't feel like we should have to be validated by the opinions of others that cause us to think that I need to change my looks. Or if you are on social media or watching TV in Hollywood, like that's big, looking at, how a person dresses, or, a person that has a full hourglass figure, be confident in how you are created. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times, I'm just going to speak from personal experiences that I became a little overweight. I was that woman that had an hourglass figure, but as I grew and as I, and as I changed, my weight changed, but I had to learn how to embrace who I was. Right. And my husband loves me. Okay. Just like, like he loves the way I look, and so I'm confident in who I am. As a woman, not worrying about what nobody else have to say. So I think it just is based off of how you feel about yourself and knowing who you are as a person.
And your husband loves you for who you are.
He loves me for who I am.
And he loves you for those qualities.
Yes.
So it's not just about how you look on the outside,
exactly,
but it's also about what you have on the inside.
Exactly.
For those that can't see what's going on, Jackie's eyes got real big when she talked about her husband loving her. She was confident in the fact that her husband, aka Mr. Elliott, I know you listen out there, loves his wife.
Yes.
And y'all didn't hear it, but she snapped the finger too, like, pow, confidence. Let me say this. I think that where men make their mistakes, have made their mistake, and also women have made that mistake, is that they have looked at the outward appearance of that person. She may have had all the fixings, all the things that you want, as far as that woman or that man is concerned. Like we say, the muscles and the biceps, the big chest, the shoulders. He dressed nice and everything, or she has that hourglass shape and her skin is to perfection, her nails, hair length, and everything else like that. But what happens is that after the beauty begins to fade, then what? We don't think about the then what.
Right.
And then because you failed to see what that person brought to the table, you failed to see that this person has some qualities that may not have been as becoming as you thought, that didn't match up with the beauty. Now you have issues. So now what happens is that behind closed doors, after you had this person on your arm as that trophy piece or whatever, now you get to see the in-depths of that person. You understand? And maybe it's a whole bunch that you don't like. So now you're at a crossroads. Now what do you do? But that's why courting, when I thought I used to say courting, is because after the initial shock factor, like, wow, she's fine, or wow, he is outstanding. When you're sitting down and you're talking to that person, now you can put the pieces together to find out what they bring to the table. The biggest shock is after he has presented himself with all the glitz and the glamour, you found out that he's a deadbeat. You found out that he's a lame, he's a loser. You found out he's an opportunist. And now you've given your heart, you've given yourself, you've given your body, your mind, and everything to this person, only to come to find out that this person brings nothing to the table.
Wow.
And that's why it's so important that, to go in, not just looking at the beauty. Okay, yeah, they're beautiful. Being beautiful, that's a piece of it. But there's so much more lying underneath that person that you surely need to get to understand from the onset before you move forward.
Well, I can speak from experience that I dated somebody that I thought was good looking, or whatever the case. And when you talk about not having that quality of bringing what you really need to the table, I've been there. I've partnered myself with somebody that was decent, but didn't have anything to bring to the table. And so I found myself in a situation to where I was miserable. I had to constantly question, like, man, wait a minute. What did I get myself into? You get what I'm saying? Because I had one focus, and that was on the outward appearance, that I ignored so much about what that person really was. And ultimately, I paid the price for it. But had I had those conversations and thought about it and really dived into who that person was, I could have avoided a landslide.
Not just a landslide, but a landmine, because I because I did that too. So oftentimes I've done that, and then come to find out that this person was wicked, or this person was just not a good person. Because sometimes, and we all do it, sometimes we hide a lot of those things about us during the onset of that relationship, and sometimes we become such good chameleons that we hide that through the tenure of the relationship. So 5 to 10 years have passed, but now you wake up, you be like, wow, this person that I'm with is not a good person,
Yeah.
but because I was driven off the looks, I was driven off those things that I like, and I failed to really delve into those other things that were more important to me. And once I found out it didn't line up with who I was, it didn't line up with my purpose, my destiny, as far as what I was trying to do, it was time for me to start cutting ties. But the bad part about that is that it took so long. I should have done that from the beginning. So now, and our thing is that for those that are out there that are listening, yeah, you see somebody, let that be just only for a moment, temporarily. But after that, after you done called your girl, I met this fine such and such, or you done called your boy, man, I bet this dope chick or whatever. Now it's time to get down to the nitty gritty so you don't make the mistakes that we've made.
And that's a good segue into my next question, because now we're dealing with the millennial generation to this new age of young adults that they're not ready for commitment or don't understand what that is on the inner qualities. So they are looking only at the outer appearance. So what are some things that we can shed light to from I can speak to the women's side, but from the guy's side, what are some things that they can do to not be focused solely on that outer appearance? Because we know it's a big thing, especially in that age group. They care about who's on their arm. Do they want Shanae or do they want Tyra Banks? You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying that's something that I think that they care about.
Well, I agree. I agree that they care about again, the outward appearance more so than a good quality of what a woman really is. We at some point in life have to quit worrying about what other people think about us, who we're with, and all the extra stuff that they focus on us about. We have to really be concerned with what's going on in my house. I'm not concerned with what my neighbors think about my wife, what my family thinks about my wife, what anybody thinks about my wife. My wife to me is my biggest blessing right now. This is my rib. This is somebody that I can say I'm honestly happy, and she is definitely God sent. Am I concerned with other people's opinions? No, because I know what I have. When I go in my house and that front door closes and everybody at work or wherever the other places or out here in society, my family, friends, if I'm not talking to you all or you not all are not around, your opinions matter to me to an extent. But at the same time, when I'm in my house, when I'm alone with my wife, that's my wife. You get what I'm saying? And so I married her for, one, I knew she was God sent. For two, the qualities that she has. Mm-hmm. She's a hard worker just like me. She's a woman that loves God just like me. Mm-hmm. She's a woman that's about purpose, about vision. Her ideas don't stop, just like me. So there's some common ground. And I look at those qualities of just a hard working woman. And I was like, okay, yes, my wife is great, amazingly beautiful and all that. But if she doesn't have those traits of being a hard worker, then I'm going to find myself in a relationship where I'm having to carry the whole thing by myself, and I don't need to. Now, granted, some people are in financial positions to where they can do that, and I could do it as well. But just the help, that I have from her and just the qualities that she brings to the table, to me is just a big blessing. So young folk, stop just looking at what somebody looks like on the outside. You get what I'm saying? That gets old, because when they have a baby or when they get a little older, things change.
Yeah.
What is that song by Music Soul Child, that I'll love you when your hair turns gray? Yeah. I'll still want you if you gained a little weight. Young folks, you really have to understand that that's something you're never going to get away with, is the human body changing. You're going to get old one day and your weight may change one day. So.
Well, being in the field that I work in, it's kind of hard. This is a whole different topic, because you are dealing with a generation now more than ever that is broken. They have experienced a great deal of trauma. So many things have happened to them to a point to where we are literally dealing with a generation who are struggling with identity crisis.
It's a whole nother topic.
Yeah, that's a whole nother topic. They don't know who they are because of a lot of who they are have been stripped from them at an early age. So what happens with this generation that I've seen, and I've been in my field in social and human services about 20 years, is that they go looking for those who are going to make them look good. They go looking for those who are going to make them feel better and look better. They go looking for those who help them help build their self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And that causes an issue later on down the line. So my suggestion to the millennials, or those that are the younger generation, we were Gen X, and I forgot what they labeled this generation. But anyway, is that it would be wise, it would behoove you to weigh your pros and cons. Find out who you are. And we've said this numerous times on this show. Find out who you are. Find out what you like and what you don't like. And then find out what you are looking for. Because all the time, that person that you're looking for, 5'5", 36, 22, 36, that might not be the one for you. She might be 5'8", and she might have a little bit more weight on her, shorter hair or whatever like that. But the qualities on the inside of that person might be exactly what you need to progress you later on to the future, or to help tie into your destiny and to your purpose. So sometimes we go looking for the wrong things, just like there was a song that said, looking for love in all the wrong places. But sometimes what you're looking for might not be what you actually need.
Yeah, and I can tell you what I see a lot too with a lot of the young women today is competition. You know, they're competing against each other to see who have the longest weave. And hey, I'm not downplaying weave. I think that's nice. That's nice that you have that, but it's so much more of a competition versus you boosting another woman up. We're so quick to tear other women down because they might be overweight and I might be thin, or they might have long hair and I have short hair, or vice versa. They're so quick to tear other women down to try to justify themselves and who they think that they are based off of them trying to look like somebody else too. You know, so I just think, you know, this generation really need to focus on the qualities like that you just talked about, Reggie, on, you know, what do I bring to the table? You know, if I stop looking at what everybody else is doing, stop trying to be the next Beyonce, the next Nicki Minaj, I don't know, a lot of the new age artists that's out, a lot of these Cardi B, you know, stop trying to be like those artists that's out there and just be your authentic self, then you will be able to find the right person for yourself.
Well, I agree. You all are hitting some serious points. You know, again, I think that it goes back to identity crisis, and we probably need to dedicate some time and really, really focus on the importance of your identity. And I know we've touched on it before, but I don't think that a lot of people know what it means to find your identity, find out who you are. When you find your authentic self, I have a friend that I follow on Facebook. I was introduced to another one of my mutual friends, and Paul Garrett, and he always talks about how to be your authentic self. You have to be your authentic self. That's from running your business, from running your relationships. That's from who God created you to be. And the problem with people is that when you know who you are and you know your identity, then you look for somebody that matches your identity, that matches your worth. You don't look for somebody that just looks good on the outside, but on the inside, they're empty. You know, I can't stand to, when I see people that, you know, you have one person who's given and given and given so much to a relationship, but the person that they're partnered with don't give the same thing. And then they're stressed, depressed, frustrated, and they lose themselves. And the problem with that is, you know, if you don't find somebody that's equal to you, and I know I'm going off subject, but if you don't find somebody that's on the same level as you, in a sense, then you're going to continue to drain yourself. Then you're going to lose yourself. You lose your identity again. And now you're trying to figure out who you are, how you got in the position you got in. So you have to really shift the focus. What's that? It was a song a while ago that some artist said, BBD, you can't trust a big butt and a smile. You know, so, so, you know, and again, I'm trying to keep the show rated PG, but I'm just saying, what are you focusing on? What are you looking at? You get what I'm saying? Because that could be another trap for you. You know, and I'm not just saying about women, but I'm talking about for men as well. You know, you looking for a man with biceps and triceps, and that could be a trap for you. Because if it's your weakness, then you're going to give in to your weakness every time, you know?
And you know what, too? I think that this kind of spills into us setting the example, because our kids today, we have so many kids that are committing suicide, you know, just from being bullied by their lack of appearance, or by, you know, them not wanting to fit into the crowd.
Right.
So, of course, if we see a lot of that, if that's what they're seeing, that's what they're believing. So I think it starts with us, you know, leading by example, and, you know, talking to some of the things that you guys already said is don't focus on things that don't matter.
Right,
Those things are temporal. We should be focusing on what's eternal.
Exactly.
But it starts at a young age. I can remember dropping my son off at high school, and was like, are these teachers or grown women? Mm-hmm. You know, so they're inundated with this stuff already at an early age. And I understood from talking to even the younger men why they couldn't concentrate in school because of what they saw. And this is what they thought was the status quo unnecessary. So it starts at an early age, and we need to start teaching them at an early age about identity and who they are. And what they always say, everything is not always what it appears to be. Like Transformers, look, favorite cartoon, favorite show. It's more than meets the eye. It's more than what it is, because they had to battle with the Decepticons. There's some deception that comes with the glitz and the glamour.
Yeah.
So if you go beyond the eye test, you know, to start to see who this person really is, and you can avoid a whole lot of pits and falls that we've done with by going beyond the eye test and finding out who that person really is, as well as you finding out who you are.
Which is ultimately important at the end of the day. So I think too, man, it's just, again, I go back to what I said, the surface. We got to stop looking at what's on the surface. You know, what's beneath the surface, I also feel like there's a lot of people who may not dress the part or look the part, and you're missing opportunities to be with really great people because you're so focused on the surface, where there's some people that's behind closed door when they're not all out in public that clean up well. You know, maybe they don't dress like the women on TV or in the videos, or, you know, the women that are distracting, or the men that are distracting wearing tight shirts. What they call those T-shirts? the real tight ones?
Wife beaters.
They don't wear wife beaters.
Beaters. I don't know, white beaters.
I drew a blank. But they wear wife beaters or whatever the case, you know, or those muscle shirts that just like suck the body and show your triceps and biceps. But I'm saying that there's some people that don't necessarily dress like that, but you don't see who they really are until you're at that point in the relationship or whatever the case. So I just say stop looking at the surface of folks, because everything that glitters is not gold. We've heard that saying over and over again.
And I would just say too, just in my final thoughts is just be your authentic self. You know what I'm saying? You know, speak the I ams to yourself. I am beautiful. I am victorious. I am a conqueror. I can do all things through Christ. You want to speak those things over yourself, then that way you don't have to try to justify yourself by trying to be somebody else.
That's good. Well, another great show. Until next time, keep your head up.
Keep God first.
And keep it moving.